been a ride the last couple of weeks energetically, but like we were just talking about, we're here for it. We're being tested. There's a lot of shifting and upgrading going on the planet to prepare us for this, what we're going to talk about today, right? The solar
Absolutely.
flash.
Yes. And talking about the solar flash, so energy wise today, the KP index, which is like the magnetic field energy, is at a 5, which
Mm-hmm.
is pretty high. That's when we're in the zone where people are really feeling it. So I know friends of ours are feeling like really tired. A lot of people feel really
Yeah.
tired in this energy. And there's this huge push that's coming in. There's like these CMEs coming in, a lot of like solar flare activity happening. And this isn't even the solar flash that we're going to talk about today.
I know, right? That's the thing
Mhm.
is like the Schumann's crazy, the magnetology, all the energy, and this is different. So, for those that maybe don't know, what is the solar flash? What is this event that has been prophesized for such a long time?
Right. So there's a lot of different versions of it. The one that feels the most resonant to me is what we have to realize is that this isn't coming just from our sun.
Right.
It's actually a pulse, if you will, from the central sun. So that's affecting not just our sun and the earth, it has a universal effect, but it's like a giant pulse of energy that comes from this, and it goes through different layers. And it's just easier to kind of picture it's like going through the center and then the galaxies at large, and then it hits our galaxy, and as it's coming in it's hitting the stars and it's hitting our sun, and that sun is going to release energy and it's going to hit the planet. And it's not necessarily like the planet goes on fire, so it's not like a fireball coming at us. It's more like the brightest light that we've ever experienced. It's almost like a whiteout. That's what I kind of imagine when I try to picture it, is that everything gets so bright, it goes pure white. And then in an instant, and then everything shifts. And so this is the part we don't know because we haven't
Yeah.
experienced it yet. And to the degree that it's going to happen here, it's not been experienced in this way. So there have been solar flashes in the past. It's natural. It's a natural
Right.
movement that's going to happen. So it's not being manufactured by anything but pure source energy itself.
Yes.
And what makes this one so different and so special, and so that's why everything in the universe is watching this, is because we signed up because we're a physical dense body planet, right? We're a physical planet where other planets are the beings on it are not in physical form, they're in light form already. So this
Mm-hmm.
is the one that people are watching around the universe, because here is a very dense planet who is expressing itself through a physical plane and of very dense matter.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're going to attempt is this transformation of the physical plane of the bodies that are here, so that the bodies will shift and morph. We're going to do sort of an X-Men thing. You know what I mean? It's going to be such a large radiation field,
Right.
but it's not meant to destroy the body. It's actually,
No.
the body is right now, as we're talking, these energies that are coming in are like tiny little flash energies to prepare your body. And your body is making these changes, which is why so many people get tired, especially,
Right.
or have like detox symptoms, because you're shifting
Yeah.
incrementally. They're trying to give it to us just a little bit at a time, so that it isn't super painful or overwhelming when it happens in the big finale.
Yes. Yes.
But it has not been done before. Every other time, what happened was the physical body died, but the light body ascended, and beings were able to have a somewhat physical experience, but it wasn't the same corporeal body anymore. You're not worried about a beating heart. You're not worried about blood pumping through your veins. All of that ceased, but your astral bodies, your etheric bodies are there and visible to the naked eye, but you are very different. So this time we're all here for the experiment. And that's why I keep emphasizing to people that you were selected. It wasn't just you
Mhm.
volunteered. You actually had to be at a point where you were deemed as a being that could do this transformation. So it's like the strongest of the strong were chosen to come, because it's going to take a lot of strength to go through this. And, you know, we see people take ascension exit points all the time. So what does that mean? An ascension exit point is when you see groups of people leaving the planet, right? They're passing over in group scenarios.
Right.
So we see that with war, we see that with illness, we see that with plane crashes or large accidents, things like that. And these are set points for souls who are like, you know what? I don't want to go through this really super duper intense energy. I'd like to take my ascension exit point, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know, that's fine. Some of us are here for the ride. Like some of us are like, I just want to know. I gotta know. I gotta know. And you know, we won't know until we've gone through it. But I'm excited for it. Because ultimately the truth of who you are, the essence of who you are, the reality of who you are is untouched by all of this. Right?
Yeah.
But with this solar flash energy, we're going to go through this massive upgrade, and then we get a completely new experience. And this experience is where all the veils drop. So you not remembering who you are or have been or what you really are, all of that goes away and you remember.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Like, we know we're powerful sometimes, but like, we have no idea.
Yeah. And it's hard. You know, one of the things that I work with clients is they do want to know. I want to know where I'm from, you know, and that information does come through, but many times their team says this is not important information. It's not as important as what you're doing right now.
Right. Yeah.
So they keep re-emphasizing the importance of this life, that this life is the most pivotal one that you're living at this time. So even though we all desire to know, and you will know, and I think it's going to be amazing. And one of the things the Law of One talks about is they're like, imagine right now you're playing a poker game and you're holding cards of experience right now. You have the experience of love, of disappointment, pleasure, pain, you know, suffering, anger. All these experiences are the hand that you're holding, and everyone's being shuffled and redealt cards all the time. So this is an active poker game that we're playing, but we can't see each other's cards. And because of that, we tell stories about what the other person has, right? Based on what we can see or what we think we know. And so in that way, that's like the veil between us. It's like, I don't really know your story. You don't really know what I'm holding either. When this flash happens, it's like we all lay our cards down face up so that everybody can see what we've got. And what it does for us is it's so unifying, because it's like, wow, you know, like you managed to move through so much. And I always assumed it was easier for you, right? Or something along those lines. It's very, it's going to be a beautiful, humbling, and very uniting experience. All the stories that we have about and especially about the people that, not so much the people that we're close to or that we hold closely, it's the ones we choose to separate from. Like, I don't like you. I don't like what you do. I don't like, those are the ones where we're going to see how we're connected truly and learn to love them. And one of the things my team says is like, if you want to express soul growth right now, if you want to go on the express track, try loving those people, identify one of them at least. And try to find love in your heart for them, despite what you have experienced from them or what they've done. And it is not a light exercise that they ask of us.
No.
It challenges you.
It does, but it does get easier, because I remember the first time you mentioned that like 3 years ago, and I thought of our current PM, JT, the turd.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, there's no way I could ever blah, blah, blah. And over time, I'm like, wow, like I can't imagine his soul choosing to play that role, and like all the horrific things he's been through and been put through and done to others. And like, I can find a level of compassion because he's also red pilling the country like crazy, right? So it is a lot easier now, so that the resistance has broken apart. There's still the moments where you're like, but it's happening now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great person to choose, because you're separated enough where, yes, that what they do affects you, but you don't feel like it would be a lot harder if someone directly hurt you.
For sure.
And then you were trying to do that. That's you got to do a lot of healing work first before approaching that. So picking someone who's far enough away, and yet their actions impact you in a negative way. And how do I find compassion for that person? And what I do is, if I can't find it directly for them, like right now, like my person's Hillary Clinton.
I know.
I can't, it's hard. When I see her face, I'm like, like I have feelings about it. But what I've managed to do, to find the compassion and the love for her, is to go back to an age before she did anything that I perceive as super negative. Mm-hmm. So I for her, it's like 2 years old. I have to imagine her as a 2-year-old, innocent, and being taught things that are shaping her into the person she becomes. And in that way, when I think of that, then I actually feel very protective of her, and I wish her safety and protection, even though I know who she becomes. Mm-hmm. At the core of these people is an innocent being. And I truly do believe that it's hard when someone, or when people do things that are so atrocious that it feels unforgivable. And yet you made a great point. They are playing a role that we did not want to play this lifetime, but somebody had to play it here for the big story, so that we could work, because this is a school, right? Earth is an advanced graduate program. It's not, a lot of people talk about Earth as a school. It's not kindergarten. It is not elementary school. It's an advanced graduate program. The graduation is ascension. So that means you don't reincarnate. You get to move on and do cooler things because you've passed this level of soul growth testing. And that's what's happening here on this planet.
That's a big deal. That's important. This is really very powerful time. So thank you for sharing that. I think that this is part of the healing and the growth. So as far as the solar the solar flash,
yes.
Do you think that there's a series of events? And I mean, we don't have to talk about time frames because we know that never works, but do you think there's a series of events that's going to occur leading up to that? Or do you think it's just going to happen one day?
No, we're already in the corridor. So what I mean by that is the events that are occurring now are the series of events that lead up to it. In the Law of One, what's really interesting is they talk about a major war happens right before the ascension event. And this information was recorded in the early 80s. Right. So this isn't like someone who's like in the middle of right now getting a vision about what's going to happen. Right. They saw, and these are higher dimensional beings that are, they've shared information with this planet many times. They're from Venus. Venus is our sister planet. And so they're very concerned about us because we're like their little brother, little sister. Yeah. Want to take care of us and want to help guide us to the best of their ability. They tried in ancient Egypt, they tried in the ancient Mayan culture, and they only got so far, and they ended up creating karma for themselves. Then they got really intertwined. Now it's like, well, you went in and you messed with it, so now you have to clean it up. Yeah. And that's why they came through and channeled the Law of One, because that was the intent the first time. The information was taken and manipulated and turned on the people, which it shouldn't have been. That created karma. So they had to come back and try again. And this time they were like, we're just going to tell it to you instead of come here and show you. Because in doing so, they ended up being worshipped like God. So, Thoth, right? The blue-headed bird god. That's them. Okay. Right. Wow. Cool. So, they came back, and so they want you to know this event is coming. Graduation is imminent. This time period is very important. At the time, in the early 80s, there was still some stuff humanity had to do to prove that they were on the higher timeline, or that they wanted the higher timeline. So we talked last time about the prophecies, right? The rock and how it split. That was like the 90s, I believe, is when that happened, or early. I think the rock split either in the 90s or the early 2000s. Again, I haven't locked in that data, but the point is in the early 90s, we passed a test. There was a cataclysmic event that was headed to Earth at that time. And we had enough love in our hearts for each other that we created a protective energy shield around the planet just from love, and nobody knew what was happening, and it averted that event. So that was one of the first tests we passed. Wow. The second was this rock thing, and there are other prophecies as well.
Yeah.
But the point is, in 1982, they didn't know, the beings who were coming through didn't know if we were going to pass these tests.
Right.
And if we hadn't, we would be heading towards cataclysmic events.
Yeah.
So the solar flash isn't necessarily tied to cataclysm. A lot of people talk about them as being one and the same, but those are two different timelines.
Right.
So we're not going to see cataclysm as part of our ascension. It could have happened.
Right.
We graduated past that point. So we did a good job. Good job, everybody.
Yes, good job.
Love in your heart. For the willingness to have love, compassion, forgiveness, and acceptance for all people to the best of your ability is the winning combination, really. So as we understand it now, we're already in the event corridor, which means that the sun is prepping us now. We're getting, and you can see it with the Schumann's great. And when was that? May or June that the Schumann did the cool DNA sequence?
Yeah, June, I think.
So the Schumann did something it never had done before. And there were people out there trying to say, oh, it was just a glitch. The machine was just glitching, but everybody could feel that wasn't a glitch. But usually you get these little up and down vertical lines, and it's just like a seismic reading type thing. In June, the Schumann resonance made like helixes along the screen. And it was a huge part of the corridor that we're in.
Yeah.
It was like a sign for us that we're here, we're going through it, we're currently ramping up, which means that this solar event could happen at any time, but it's going to happen in our lifetime and fairly soon, maybe sooner than we realize, maybe not as soon as some of us want, but it's going to be now. And I remember when I first learned about this, I thought it was going to be in my kids' lifetime or after I was gone. I wasn't sure that I was going to be a part of it. Now I can see very much, yes, we are a part of this.
It's so exciting. Yeah, it definitely feels imminent, that's for sure. Is there anything else you want to share specifically about the solar flash before we go into the questions that we have to ask the cards?
So what's most important, my team says, is that this is a fun topic to focus on. And for those of us who know about it, when days are hard, we kind of focus in on it. We want that to happen. Like, just get it over with. Like, let's do it now. And they said, you still got to play the game that you're in, waiting for this thing to come to fix things or level it out. That's not you playing your part. Right. To play your part is to continue to move forward in your life, trying to make the most, ethical, moral decisions that you can, do the best you can in any given moment, and completely show up to it as if that's not in the cards. And not because they just don't want you relying on something outside of yourself to heal your life, to learn, to make things better. If you're doing this work for yourself, then the solar flash is just going to be the most incredible, beautiful gift to top all the soul work you've done.
Right.
If you sit back and you're like, I'm not doing anything until this flash happens and then I'll do things, then you're actually not, it's like we're not going to pull our own weight, and we're not helping with the progression that we came here to do. So it's so important to continue to, be an active part of your life and make choices as if this is the only choice that matters, because right now that is the only choice that matters.
Yeah. Makes sense. It's so important. I've had a habit of getting into that and then like, no, present, get back into life, show up, do your stuff. Right.
Right.
we have our moments, but yeah.
Sure.
Thanks for
Sure.
that reminder.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where I get it. I go there sometimes and I'm like, you guys, come on, just make it happen. But the moment is for you to understand that you're a sovereign entity who's creating. And how are you going to get that if something else comes in and does it for you? You won't get it. So
Totally.
if you want to help accelerate this window, really focus on your own life and how am I creating right now?
Yeah.
And what could I do right now that would be beneficial to myself and possibly to others? And if it includes others, the universe is really going to help push that forward.
100%. I agree. Service to self, service to others. I love this. This just feels so warm and fuzzy and reassuring. So why don't we ask a couple of questions to the cards about the solar flash? And as always, if you have questions, leave them in the chat or the comments below, and we'll get to them in a future episode. So my question is, will the solar flash heal ailments or symptoms? Chronic things, diagnoses?
That's a really good question. I sense yes, but I'd like to hear what the team has to say.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Ooh. Interesting. Okay. Not to the degree I thought it. So this is the strength card, which in the upright position would actually talk about a psychological healing happening. Okay. Because if you think about this, right, if the physical body is more of a illusory vessel, so there is something here, but it's not the real you. It is a suit that you wear.
Yeah.
So the real you is the consciousness of you. It's that part that is still your job to heal that. And so the level at which you're doing that work actually determines which planet you go to, right? So we talked about this before with the timelines episode, in case you're like, what do you mean? Check out that episode because we went into detail, but there's basically two major timelines. So when this event, the solar flash occurs, that's when the splitting truly happens. There will be groups that are taken to the new Earth, the higher ascension timeline Earth. And then there are those who will be taken to Earth 2.0, which is like this one. So the experience will be very much the same. It's just there will be no tyranny in that version. It'll be a pure, nothing's working against you actively. It's just you trying to figure it out till you're ready to go to the other one. So in the terms of psychological health, that is absolutely on you because that's your job right now. So it kind of concurs with what we had just said, like act like, right now that this flash isn't coming and focus in on what can you do to heal yourself? What can you do to create soul growth? What are the things that, what are the stories you're telling? Where are you getting caught up in stuff and really work on that? Because that's actually dominantly your job. The flash is to move the people really that are ready. So if you're prepared to move, if you've really got the 51% of polarization towards the positive, and that's where you work on yourself, but you're also service to others oriented and you're doing it consistently. Yeah, you're ready to go over and do the new work. For those of you who we're just not there yet, or you're just dawning to this, or it's not even a thing yet. You haven't woken up to that. That's okay. You have more time to work through that so that you can get ready and then you'll go right over. So you don't lose, but the healing of the mind, specifically the psychological healing, is very much in our own hands. That's not what this flash takes care of. However, I get that the physical ailments and stuff that we're going through, well, that was also mental anyway. Right. That was always meant. And that's the part that's like, it's hard to hear that sometimes because you're like, I would never mentally make my back hurt. It's like, yeah, but you're holding on to stuff. Yeah. Right. So I get that those ailments, yes, those go quickly because the mind is ready, and then you
Yeah.
go over and you're not doing that to yourself anymore. But if you haven't
Makes
done
sense.
that psychological work, then no, that the solar flash won't give you that, because that would be
Right.
doing your job for you, and it would not be actually in alignment with your free will. Because if you're a
Right.
soul that's not ready yet, then it's robbing you of an incredible growth and learning opportunity. And
Mhm.
that's not seen as benevolent on your behalf. That actually is seen as stealing from you.
Right. Makes sense. 150%.
I didn't expect that, though. I kind of thought like we would all just get the you're good. Go on over.
Yeah. It makes sense though, right?
It does. It does. And it's just more, it gives me more confirmation about why it's so important to stay in it
Yeah.
and work on your stuff, and have
Mhm.
the appreciation that this is an opportunity. And that's the thing, that it's easy to say it, could be hard to see it sometimes, but
Yeah.
this is truly a blessed opportunity that you have right now, this life.
Yeah. Well said. I agree. And like you said earlier, because we've been doing our deeper work and because it's going to just accelerate when the flash happens, I think it will probably be a lot easier to be relieved of symptoms, ailments, etc. because of that. So celebrate what you're doing to heal right now. Okay. Do you want me to read your question, or do you want to?
Yeah, it already popped up. So because I asked mentally. So will you tell them what the question is, and I'll give them the answer.
I just want to make sure. So there's a specific version of the solar flash. From who? Can you say again, please? I just forget the name.
Oh, her name is S.A. Smith, a
S.A.
girl in
Smith.
the universe. Yeah.
Right. A girl in the universe. And Therese wants to know if this is the version of the flash that we're most likely to have occur.
Okay, so really quickly, S.A. Smith's version is that when the solar flash occurs, we all just kind of go to sleep. Everybody gets to process it by sleeping through it, and therefore there's no pain. It's a gentle experience. It's like whatever you're doing, you're put to sleep. If you're driving a bus, there will be a guide there to take over, and the bus will be safely brought to a stop. So no one gets hurt, no catastrophe happens. You just go to sleep. And those of us who are primed or ready wake up first, and then people also start waking up, and then we move forward. And I like that experience because it sounds gentle and easy.
Yeah.
Other versions of the experience are that it'll be an intense pain, like a giant sunburn. We all experience like burn, but then you're okay. And I'm like, damn, I don't want a giant sunburn. I just put me to sleep. So I wanted to know, what's going to happen. And so we get the Chariot. This card's coming in, and this card is talking about self-control. So there is this element of you get to kind of choose how it's happening. And this is, it feels wild because I'd rather it be all like even Steven, but again, there's a free will element. Maybe someone wants to see the whole thing. Maybe you want to be awake and you want to feel the full light just zap you. So I think like it's almost like a good idea, if you're listening to this is meant for you. Have a plan. What do you want? What would you like to experience? What sounds like a pleasant way to go through it? I know some people want to see it, and it sounds like Source isn't going to deny you of your choice.
Right.
You get to choose. So I'm choosing the nap. I'll take a little nap.
That sounds really nice.
Yeah, it sounds pleasant and relaxing, and we could all use that. So
yeah, I agree. We're curious, what would you choose? What's your, timeline that you want to go on with the solar flash experience? Share it in the comments. So curious to hear what comes up for you. This is really insightful. Honestly, I'm very intrigued with what the cards have to say. A bit unexpected to what I thought that they would say, but of course,
I know they always have something else. So the final message I just want to share is your sovereignty is a big deal to the other side, and it should be a big deal to you too. But this is something that no event, Source would never override that. You are Source, and your wishes, your desires are seen and held in great regard, because you are an element of Source having a unique experience, and it wants you to play that all the way out. So nothing's going to come in and delete that and be like, oh, pause. No,
Right.
you will get to, you're choosing this adventure. So conscientiously choose what you'd like to experience.
Right. I love that. That's a great way to end this. So thank you for sharing everything, Therese. I learned a lot too. So where can everyone find you if they want to learn more, connect with you, work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of my details are in the description below. You can go to blythestarlight.com. There are readings there. You can also go to my YouTube channel where you can hear more about the information I'm getting from my team. And of course, if you want some bling, if you want some spiritual bling, you can check out my Etsy shop, which is also Blythe Starlight.
I
And
love it.
Amber, where can we find you?
Yeah, so you can find me at the links below as well. If you're wanting to work on overcoming your binge eating, emotional eating, building body love, maybe getting some answers on some symptoms like hormone issues, fatigue, brain fog, weight loss blocks, etc., and you want to work on that ideally before the solar flash hits so you can gain your knowledge and be free of it, like you can definitely go to amberproof.ca, book a 30-minute body freedom consultation. Also, you can listen to the No Sugarcoating podcast and take the free emotional eating quiz.
She's in the top 1%.
Oh
She
my
needs help
gosh.
celebrating this.
Thank
She's top 1%
you.
podcast.
Celebrating. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I'm so grateful. Thank you for all of you who listen to the show. I love doing it every week. It's truly a pleasure. So thank
So
you.
inspirational. I love it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for bringing it up. This has been a pleasure. If you love what you're hearing, feel free to comment below any ideas you have that you would like us to dive into, explore with our conversation in the cards. Otherwise, we're sending you so much love. Enjoy the rest of your day. Keep living life and honoring you as we go along on this awakening and this ascension. And we'll see you again next week for a whole new episode of Shining the Light On. Take care.